Welcome back to the Winter Growers Podcast. Today, my guest is Kate Woods, farm manager of Beetlebung Farm in Chilmark, Massachusetts. Kate, along with her partner Nick, are the co-managers of a 2-acre regenerative and primarily no-till farm on the island of Martha's Vineyard. Before its current iteration, the land had a rich history in agriculture, something of which that has been important to carry on for the island community, as well as a commitment to year-round production and innovation. With only 2 acres, the focus is on direct retail through a farm stand, farmers markets, and a handful of wholesale clients, plus some educational opportunities for local school children and the larger island community. On the horizon is the opening of a farm store and a bakery with a focus on the culinary creations of local island products, which is a passion of Kate's. We speak about her background, how the farm started, and her role in helping to realize a vision of a robust and nimble 4-season farm with a deep passion and mission to serve the island community. This episode of the Winter Growers Podcast is brought to you by BCS America. BCS two-wheel tractors are designed and built in Italy, where small-scale farming has been a way of life for generations. Discover the beauty of BCS on your farm with PTO-driven implements for soil working, shredding cover crops, spreading compost, mowing under fences, clearing snow, and more. All powered by a single gear-driven machine that's tailored to the size and scale of your operation. Tractors and attachments are on sale now. Find sale pricing and your nearest dealer at bcsamerica.com. That's bcsamerica.com.
Hey, you all, Farmer Jesse here. So our work has always been about keeping farming information as free and open to the public as we possibly can, and that won't change. One way in which we make that possible, though, is through advertising on podcasts like this, on our YouTube channel, on our forum, and so on. So if you are a small farm-related company selling seeds or tools or something growers could use, or if you're an organization putting on some conference or offering a grant or looking for farmer contributors or something else farm-related that I'm not thinking of, get in touch with us at Farmer Michelle at no-tillgrowers.com. That's Farmer Michelle at no-tillgrowers.com. Supporting us helps to grow this work and grow farmers. So we all thank you. Again, that email is farmermichelle at no-tillgrowers.com, or you can find our contact information at no-tillgrowers.com. All right. Thanks, y'all. Enjoy the show.
Okay, welcome to the Winter Growers Podcast. Today I have Kate Woods, who is the farm manager at Beetlebung Farm in Chilmark, Massachusetts. Welcome, Kate.
Thanks, Clara. It's so nice to be here.
It's really great to have you. So with our story, I've known you for quite some time, and full disclaimer, I've actually worked in some capacity as a consultant for Beetlebung Farm. So I've sort of seen it evolve and grow and change over the years, and it's been really wonderful having you and your partner Nick at the helm for the last few years, and to see everything that you've done. And I'm really excited for listeners to get a taste of Beetlebung.
Yeah, I'm super excited to talk to you. I feel like in coming to Beetlebung and knowing that you already had a pre-existing relationship with the owner, it was something that was obviously really exciting just to have you as a resource and just sort of know that you were there if necessary or I needed to reach out. And you've always been such an incredible person to reach out to. And I've always valued exactly how you lend advice. It's always been in such a humble, beautiful way where it's like, this is what I've done or what I might do, but like it never felt or feels in any way like you're trying to kind of like prescribe something or, preach about something. I just love the way that you lend advice and are there. And I've always appreciated that. So yeah, very lucky perk to the job.
Well, thank you. That's very sweet to hear. And I mean, I get to speak with so many amazing farmers, and so much of, what I love is being able to connect to farmers and what they do and really listen. So, so much of that is like listening and finding out what the challenges are and what potential solutions can be. So it's great to have that relationship too. Yeah. Well, great. Well, there's a lot of really interesting things about Beetlebung Farm. And, before we get into more of those details, I think it would be great to start more with your background, how you got into farming, inspired to farm, what, as my dad always likes to say, like I don't know why he says this, but it is a funny question. What character defect do you have that made you decide to become a farmer?
Honestly, I think it's like a fear of the indoors, mostly. I think, truthfully, I've really always loved being outside. And I think in going to college and going through all of this kind of exploration and like choices around what do you want to do with the rest of your life and having all these varied interests, I think I was always so nervous about having to pick one thing and having to it be so formal and like for the most part be indoors. And I think I was always looking for those like alternative things that I could potentially do. And I grew up in a very rural area, mostly surrounded by big dairy farms. Farming never really registered as something that was interesting or would lead to like a great lifestyle. And so I really didn't discover it until after college, and thinking about nutrition and doing some work with kids in school gardens. And it wasn't really until though that I started working on farms in volunteering capacities and then my first formal apprenticeship at Sienna Farms in Sudbury, Mass, that I really realized how kind of perfect it was for my varied interests and kind of tying them all together. And then also just fulfilling that aspect of myself that I knew, which was that I feel really pulled towards physical work and using my body. And it always felt right. Once I questioned it for so long, what I wanted to do. And then once I started farming, literally was never a thought again in my brain in terms of what I wanted to do. And I feel like it continues to lead me into different directions that I'm interested in. And I was kind of talking to you about this before, Clara, but I feel oftentimes very distracted by all of the different things that you can do within the farming world, whether it's the culinary side of things or, I don't know, like design and artistic side of things or the production side. There's so many avenues that really excite me. And I oftentimes find it difficult to really focus and like put my brain towards one thing. But I do think I feel so lucky in having found Beetlebung is that I do get to kind of explore all of those areas, and we continue to move towards that direction of just kind of a diverse way of approaching and looking at like a small market garden style farm.
Yeah, no, I hear that. The varied interests are exhausting, really, right? And I know that you have an incredible culinary talent yourself. I've eaten many of your meals and they're delicious. And I'm curious where that came from. Did you always have an interest in the culinary side, or has that sort of grown over time too?
It's definitely grown over time. I grew up, my mother cooked all of our meals. She was never inspired, really, I don't think, to cook, but she felt very strongly that she wanted to feed her family meals that were, very healthful. And but it was never really seen as like a form of kind of like creative license or anything. And I think it wasn't until I've always loved to consume and eat food, but it wasn't really until I started working at Stone Barns or Blue Hill Stone Barns that I think I was really inspired by what can happen when a farmer and someone in that world, a chef, kind of link up and connect. And I think my conversations with chefs there just really pushed me into that world of what possibilities exist. And I would say, yeah, that place inspired me more, just conversations over weeding with a chef of like what they were going to make for dinner, not necessarily the things that were being made in the restaurant. It was more so like, what are you making for dinner for yourself, or what are you really excited about, or where are you going to eat? And some of the best food I made was also just with other farmers, because they know the crops so deeply and know exactly when they taste the best and when to harvest them. And honestly, just like potlucks with other farmers. And some of my favorite people that I farmed with in the past are, again, some of the most talented cooks and chefs that I've ever been around. So it's just been absorption from people around me and just wanting to eat really good food. And
And what was that experience like working at Stone Barns? How did you come across it, and what do you think were the biggest things you took away from that experience that's sort of defined your career now?
Yeah. So I think my first season at Sienna Farms, I think I had discovered it in some way, I think through the Young Farmers Conference, and attended that the first year. And I think I was just so blown away by the community that it was fostering. And I think anytime I visited, it was just such a beautiful place that people wanted to come and congregate. And there was just, a lot of like beautiful moments of interaction there, whether it was once I started farming there. I say we, my boyfriend Nick and I met there, and we now manage Beetlebung together. But I just, so many smart, talented people from all different kind of walks of life and sectors that kind of came together. And I think that was one of the most beautiful things, is just those interactions with other people. And I was really lucky to meet some of my favorite people in the world. Jason Grauer, who still works there now, has been a mentor and just a really incredible friend. And I think he has inspired me in so many ways, through growing, but also through managing as a leader and just passion. He's one of the most passionate people I know and cares so deeply about his work. And I value him so much. And I think about him a lot and how and what he would do. So, I've just met so many incredible people there. And again, people that are so passionate and I think really want to do great things for the world. So yeah, it was really formative. I also met Michael Mazurek there, the breeder up at Cornell, who I went to work with for a year. And that was, again, another one of the most incredible experiences. I also really, really respect and value Michael and his work and his dedication, and also his love for food. Like everywhere I went, food was this like giddy, exciting thing that was the way that a lot of people like connected on a more kind of basic level. And everyone has to eat, and everyone that I've come across in this world has really valued and loved it. So that's I'm so glad you brought up both Jason and Michael. I know them as well, and definitely want to give a shout out to both of them because they are doing amazing things in the farming world. And
Yes, Michael, the interactions I've had with him is like, he is literally like a kid in a candy shop when it comes to like seed breeding and flavors and food. And it's just so wonderful to see someone like that kind of like just have all this curiosity and exploration and apply it to food and farming. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And I think one of the things I loved about him most was that you knew at all points how brilliant he was, but he also could very easily meet you where you were and never make you feel bad about it. And he just wanted more people to be excited about what he was excited about and care about it and value it. And I think that, yeah, just kind of being around that energy is so intoxicating. And it just, I think, not many people realize how incredible that quality trait is of making other people feel comfortable when you're at such a level that like might be intimidating. I've always valued that in any leader or mentor or that sort of thing. It's that like ease and comfort that they put you at. And yeah, Michael's really exceptional at that.
Yeah, definitely. And I love the work that, they've been doing with Row 7 Seeds too. So another little shout out. If you don't know about Row 7, definitely check them out. They've got some pretty cool seeds. And yeah, well, good. And then so you and Nick then obviously heard about Beetlebung and, applied for the positions. And how did that story go?
Yeah, so we were kind of looking. Nick had left a couple years prior, and he had gone up to Cornell actually after I had come down and back to Stone Barns. He had gone up to get his master's in hospitality, and we were looking for some place that we could kind of reconnect somewhere and manage a system together. So Mara Flanagan, who used to work at Stone Barns as well, she had made the move. She had deep connections to the island through her family, and she had moved to the island and connected with the owner of the farm, Amy Weinberg, and was like, hey, we're looking for a manager or potentially two. And Nick and I just kind of decided to make the leap. And we're so glad we did.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I love that there's this quick story of Amy that I'll share that I think is quite amusing, that she actually attended the Young Farmers Conference a number of years ago. And she, felt somewhat out of place because, she, didn't consider herself a particularly young farmer at the moment. And she was in the lunch line and she was, looking for a place to sit, and she saw, an older gentleman, an older woman sitting, and she was like, oh, good, I could go sit over there. And so she was pointing to her companion to like, let's go sit over there. And the woman she was with was like, oh, do you know who you just pointed at? And she was pointing at Elliot, my father, and, was like, do you even realize who you're sitting next to? So anyway, it was just sort of a great story. But that is ultimately the connection of how she reached out to me. And I learned about, the work, the new work at Beetlebung. So anyway, so really, really great to have all these sort of things come together in those funny ways. So
yeah, it's really amazing. I think though Nick and I don't own the farm, we're lucky to work for someone who is just as passionate about small scale agriculture and what that means for a community, and really cares about understanding it very deeply, and is just really committed to what small scale farming means. And we're really grateful for that.
Yeah, no, I agree. It takes all types of farms to be able to feed people and figure this out. So yes. Well, great. So then when you landed at Beetlebung, maybe describe to me a little bit about what the layout, infrastructure, kind of, the focus, all of those different things.
Yeah. So when we got here, so Amy, just to give a little background, Amy purchased the land from a family farm, the Fisher family, who had farmed the land for years and years and years, generations, and they took care of the land in a really wonderful way. She had purchased it about a year, I think a year and a half to 2 years before we got here. And they were just kind of trying to figure out how to get it to a place that I think was really focused on production and making it a viable farm. And again, one that balanced soil health and prioritizing that, but also feeding or helping to contribute to feed a community. And it's in an incredible location. It's in the middle of a town in Chilmark. It sits right at the corner of this town that is surrounded by a post office, the town hall, a school, a bank, basically all the things you need to run a town are right there in the center. And I think it's just such a symbolically beautiful thing that a farm is also right in there. And I think that's how we've always looked at it, as like, what a unique space that this farm has, and how can we highlight that? How can we talk about how important that is, that whenever someone drives by to drop their kids off at school or get a book at the library or whatever, they're also driving by a space that they stop by to feed themselves and pick up food. So that's been always really, really special. The property is 6 acres in total, but we farm on just about a little under 2 acres. And we have 3 greenhouses, one of which is a propagation space, and 2 others that we do year-round growing in. And we are a predominantly no-till or low-till farm. So we do everything hand scale. And we do have a BCS where we do pretty shallow tillage and bed shaping. But mostly we're using the broad fork and we're using hand tools. And we do have a tractor that we move around compost with. But mostly it's just us. And yeah, we have a small farm stand on the farm, self-service that we've been stocking for the last few years. We have a twice a week farmers market that runs June through October. And then we do supply to some restaurants in on the island. So a good diverse mix. And yeah, that's kind of the basic setup.
Quick question to help listeners. Where did the name come from?
Ooh, great question. So we sit at what's called Beetlebung Corner, and it's named Beetlebung Corner because there's a beautiful grove of beetlebung trees that sits right at the corner on the farm's property, and they surround a small pond. And they grow in groves like that. So it's kind of also another symbolically beautiful kind of message, and they all kind of sit there as a family, and their leaves turn sooner than any other tree, so they turn this really beautiful reddish color, and they're really vibrant. And the beetlebung tree is kind of all over the island, but you'll see just little groves here and there. But this one at the corner has been around for a long time and kind of defines the corner and defines the farm.
Yeah, no, that's great. A friend of mine who did not know the history of the name or even the tree was joking with me about like, oh, Beetlebung, was there going to be a new farm called, Ant's Anus or some other sort of, a bug reference. So
yeah, it's fun.
But anyway,
you can play on it makes for
good conversation. Well, good. So then, and what, I know from my experience that, winter production, year-round production has always been kind of like a tenet or core of kind of the bigger picture of production. And how have you brought that in? How have you managed that? What have you learned, especially growing, on an island? Because we haven't even reminded people that you are on an island and it comes with all those added challenges. So, yeah.
Yeah, the island thing, it's a bigger deal than I think I even assumed. But year round means a whole nother thing as well. There's a year-round community, and that's much different from what the island looks like, say, in July or August. So there are so many people here for a small, probably 2 to 3 month period that's pretty overwhelming in a lot of ways. But demand-wise, it's pretty overwhelming, which is a beautiful thing. But it's also kind of hard to balance when then you go into these other seasons of fall and winter, where there are still definitely people to feed and people that are really craving this kind of food. But it just looks different, and how you access those people is different. And I think that's always been a really kind of difficult part of managing it. And I think I mentioned to you before, which but in the fall and the spring, I oftentimes feel like when we have some of the most beautiful crops and the ones that I'm most excited about and taste the best, there tend to be a lot fewer people, and our supply is much higher. So I think those are the moments that are really difficult for me and for us. Again, just to balance, because we don't want to hold back. A lot of growers will kind of sacrifice fall crops to push their summer crops to do several successions of tomatoes, or keep their hot crops in their tunnels for longer and miss certain kind of fall and winter dates. For that, we don't really. I think we love growing fall and winter crops so much that it's kind of hard for us to give that up. So we grow year round in our 2 greenhouses. We do a lot of Mokum carrots. We do greens, spinach, arugula. We do quite a bit of radicchio too for our size. So just to finish up the greenhouse, and then we do some kind of baby greens as well. And we try to provide a greens mix all year. We call our greens mix our party mix. And it's been a kind of really awesome way to, it kind of works for the farm in that we can pretty much put whatever we want into it. It's usually has a base of some sort of Salanova mix, and then we'll add in microgreens, and we'll add in herbs and sort of anything else that's growing at the moment that we can add in and make it taste cool, look cool, and excite people. So we use that throughout the winter. Anything that's bolted or flowering, we'll put it in there too, which is fun. And it just, again, kind of works for us. So we do that all winter, spinach and carrots. And we end up usually, because we have a farm stand on the farm that's self-service, and again, it's not conditioned in any way. We usually sell our produce to, again, a couple restaurants, but we push it towards the local grocery store here too, which has really been helpful and a great resource to sell our greens mostly. So Yeah, that's been great. I think what's hard is, and something that I am kind of bummed about, is that I feel like at Stone Barns, we did a lot of like outdoor winter spinach in low tunnels, and we did a lot of carrots and covered them with remay. And there were a lot of things that we could do in the field that were fun because they really accentuated the taste. And we could talk about that and why it was so special. I think it's been a little difficult here. We have really high winds in the winter. And though we do have an 8-foot deer fence, we have deer get in all the time. They're so desperate. I think another farmer just shared with me that we have 50 deer per square mile here on the island. So it's pretty wild, and they are really hungry. And they will scale fences, they'll push through them. And we lost most of our winter radicchio this fall and winter because they came in and they were covered with remay twice in netting, and they would just rip through the remay and just fully decimate. So
those are some determined deer.
So determined. It's
that
crazy.
Is insane. I mean, not only is there the deer fence, but then you have the covers over the crops and they're still getting in. That is
I know,
crazy.
I know. Yeah. They love it. They love it. But yeah, I would say that demand piece and the kind of finding our people that are here all year, I think has been one of the biggest adjustments. And then just kind of altering our expectations to what we can grow, and really leaning on these 3 greenhouses that have been really incredible. They're Rimmel, and we never have to worry about them in the high winds, and they've just been incredible. So we're really, really fortunate and lucky to have them. And I think, as you know, as any winter grower knows, like seeing people's faces when they get like carrots in January or greens, they just lose their minds. And I think it's so cool to be able to have that as a piece or a conversation topic to talk about farming more, and to help them kind of understand like how to define a small scale farm and what's possible and what's not.
Hey, podcast listeners, we're going to pause for a moment to hear from one of our show sponsors. Today's episode of the Winter Growers Podcast is brought to you by Johnny's Selected Seeds. When you need proven varieties you can count on and detailed guidance from seeding to harvest, consider Johnny's your trusted growing partner. Our same-day shipping can help keep your planting schedules on track when the unexpected happens. We're here to help you grow good food. Turning to Johnny's means you can plant high-quality, trial-proven varieties with confidence and know that our expert staff is ready to help with firsthand knowledge because we've grown them ourselves. This episode is also brought to you by Rimmel Greenhouses. Whether it's tomatoes to market, flowers in the spring, or vegetables for your family, growing in a greenhouse protected from the weather provides the right environment for a harvest you can count on. Rimmel Greenhouses are strong, durable, and easy to assemble, offering the quality you need to grow productively year-round. The team of experts at Rimmel will be your trusted partners to ensure you get exceptional value from your greenhouse investment. So considering some of the challenges you mentioned
today.
All right, back to the show. With the winter, are there any other winter growers on the island? And is the demand something that you feel you could increase if you had the capacity? Or is it are you kind of at a sweet spot with the production and the demand in the winter?
I think we could potentially sell more. I think we're in a kind of exciting phase, which I haven't mentioned yet, but we're building a barn, an agricultural barn on the farm. But it will also have a commercial kitchen and a bakery in it. And we've hired someone to run the kitchen. Her name's Mira. And we're really excited about this part of the business. And I think in the winter time, there may be a capacity for how many greens people want to buy, or because it's a limited more limited scope of vegetables, I think there may be a point at which we can't sell more. But I think with the kitchen and doing some more value added and potential like dinner kits that people can pick up, and being able to get a little bit more creative on the culinary offering side, I think is really wanted and needed. I think the island is beautifully quiet in the winter, as I'm sure you probably know too, in terms of Maine. Like, it's so nice to have those moments of quiet, and you can kind of hibernate and that sort of thing. But it's also, I think people are yearning for kind of interaction and sharing of food. And most of the restaurants closed down here too. So there aren't really that many options to share food and to get food and to feel fed and that sort of thing. So we're really hopeful that this barn space and the kitchen will be able to not only increase demand on the farm side of things, but also just like add to creating this sense of community and the farm being a place that people can congregate and they can interact with each other and just see each other. So yeah, I think more tunnels would be awesome. We're a little limited where we are. But if we had more land, I think it'd be really, really great to be able to increase that production. I think people are definitely wanting to be fed and would consume more.
Yeah, no, I love this expansion into, just all the other components of a farm business that oftentimes either there aren't the resources to do or the time to do. So being able to incorporate all those other pieces into the year-round model, I think is really, innovative, important, and will build more community, like you said.
Yeah. And hopefully build more community between other farms too. I think we are really fortunate to be surrounded by a lot of other small scale, incredible farms on the island, whether they're veg or dairy or meat, and the fishermen as well. I think we live on an island that's so kind of vibrant in that like local food system side of things. So I think the more we can help people kind of not understand, I think a lot of people understand it, but just make that like what is the most important part of this place and what is so unique about it is that like every 5 miles you can stop at a small little farm stand and pick something up, and wanting to make sure all of these farms exist and continue to exist. I think being able to support each other is really important. And I hope that this kitchen and the space are a way to do that too, not only to lift up our farm, but to hopefully highlight and lift up as best we can these other farms, and just talk about farming more so that it's valued even higher.
Yeah. So what would you say is your favorite part of this farm or farming? Like, where do you really shine? Where do you bring out who you are in this farm?
Yeah, I think it's so hard. I think I was talking to you about this before, Clara, but I think I almost sometimes wish that I was an expert at one area, or I spend more time like diving into a certain part of the farming world. I feel like I'm sort of this generalist that is, I think, good at potentially bringing all the pieces together. And I see my role as we move forward as someone who can really advocate for the farm and make sure that the farm always comes first and is represented really well. And what that means and for the kitchen and what that means for a bakery and what that means for potential programming we do or that sort of thing. I think I have a shared language sort of with some of these different areas, but I think I want to be, as a farmer, an advocate for other farmers and an advocate for our farm and how important farming just is in a community. And I think, I want to, continue to be involved in all these different areas and just try to lend support to them all and make sure that they're all interacting and talking to each other, so nothing kind of happens in silos, and again, that everyone kind of understands these needs of the farm. And I think that's kind of where I contribute the best, but I do question it a lot. So,
well, no, I mean, I think you bring up a good point that, of course you can be a specialist in all sorts of different things, but oftentimes, especially running a farm business, you have to be a generalist in all of these things because you are doing them simultaneously, and it's no easy feat to do that. So,
yeah. And I do think it's really exciting. Nick was just kind of reminding me that in building a team, you hire and you try to build a team that is kind of better than you at some of these things. And I feel like that's kind of what we're doing. And we're so lucky. And we've hired this incredible, talented chef, and we've hired another incredible farmer. And I feel so lucky to be surrounded by them and learn from them. And I think it, makes me question my own kind of part in the whole system. But I do think it's a time to reflect and figure out how I can be kind of service to all these other people on this team, and hopefully just help it kind of keep running and just celebrate all these incredible people that we have on the team. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there always has to be that one person who is the glue that holds it all together, which in my definition is a leader. So yes, it's not always the most celebrated work, but it is generally the most essential. So, well, and speak a little bit about, the employees and the team that you have on the farm, because if you are bringing in these chefs, but, who's doing harvesting and, all the other parts to keep the farm operating.
Yeah. So we have an incredible team, a really incredible team I love working with. Into this next season, we have a little bit of turnover, but Leo and Theo are yearly crew right now. The EOs are really exceptional humans. Theo has been around actually since day one, right when Amy purchased the farm. So he's been here longer than anyone else. And he's also been on the island longer than anyone else. He grew up here. He was born here. So he is a true islander. And he focuses a lot on kind of fertility management and beneficial sprays and compost, and he's a really thoughtful, curious human, and he's a lot younger than all of us too, so he keeps us cool, which is really good. He keeps us up on all of the catchy phrases and things that are up to date, whatever.
Keeps you young.
And then exactly. And then Leo, who came to us last year, another just incredible human. He is focusing on kind of the wash pack and post-harvest handling in this next year. And again, just really thoughtful and cares a whole lot. And then we've hired Ethan, who is also an islander born here, and he's worked on several different farms on the island, and he's coming in with a ton of talent and a lot of experience. So we're super excited to have him on the team as well. And we have got a few more people, Lonnie Phillips, who she's an incredible person and so talented in so many different areas. She's historically done flowers for us for dinners and things, and she's going to be coming on in a larger role around design and also flower growing, and many more things. Because, like I said, she's super talented. And we've got Mara, and then Nick, who I didn't mention, but he has helped me manage the farm for the last 3 years, and he's sort of transitioning into a more kind of strategic kind of planning and financial role as we move forward in the business. But I'm trying to convince him to keep his hands in the dirt as much as possible. So and then we've got Mara, who I mentioned before, and Amy, who again are so supportive and allow us on the farm to lean into those roles more. And they're incredible support systems that, again, kind of they call themselves front of farm, like front of house. And I think they really are incredible and really are again, celebrate us and allow us to do the work, and allow us to do a lot more than we could otherwise. So,
yeah, no, I mean, it's a great team. And I love how, energetically and generously you speak of everyone who works there, because you can definitely feel that energy when you're there on the farm. So
yeah,
that's great.
It's really special. We have farm lunch, which you've come to several times, once a week on Thursdays. And I think every time I sit down and I look around, I'm just like, oh, it's so cool to be around all these people. And everyone is so unique, but everyone just cares a whole lot about each other. And I just feel, really grateful to be surrounded by that energy. So, yeah.
So from your experience with, winter growing, year-round growing, what do you feel is sort of, I know this is probably not an easy answer, but what is the ideal that you feel within the context of year-round growing, and how farmers can embrace that, no matter where they farm?
Yeah, I think, again, being able to rely on a farm, not necessarily for, I hate the word consistency, because I think that should be left to grocery stores and like people that are aggregating product in a way. But I think being able to rely on a farm as a community member, I think is going to go such a long way. And I think it's going to make sure that farm lasts, because I think what people connect with and what they fall in love with, they're going to want to protect and support and celebrate. And so I would just say the biggest thing for us is that piece of community, and really getting the support and growing throughout the winter, I think is a lot of times what does that, especially because we're in such a seasonal area that people are so excited when they come in the summer for a month or a couple weeks, and they're like, oh, I can go to a farm and whatever. But the people that are here all year round and that rely on it, and because we're on an island, like, yes, there are grocery stores, but even the produce in the grocery stores is not that great or exciting. And it is more difficult to access really great fresh produce. So I think it means even more to this community, but I think it means so much to the year-round community, because it's like, we care enough to support and feed you all year round. We're not just here for the summer people. We're not just here for that one moment that we can capitalize on. It's more about, again, being reliable and just here. And I think I want to continue increasing our ability to connect with people in that off season in the winter, and remind them that we're still growing and we still have food for them, and we still have a space for them to come to. So I think that's the most powerful part of growing in the winter from my perspective. And even if it's not fulfilling their entire diet or filling their fridge completely, it's still a reminder, and it's still, they can keep it in their kind of routine of stopping at the farm throughout the entire year and it's not like we're not a seasonal business, though there are so many on the island, and we do get time off in the winter. We're lucky. We get a few weeks, but we're not a seasonal business, and I feel really proud to not be a seasonal business.
Yeah. And hey, you got to take time off at some point. So
yeah,
might as well be when it's slower.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, good. Well, I think we're just ready for our lightning round questions. Are you ready for those?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Let's see here. So, number 1, favorite crop to grow, cook, or eat?
I really love sprouting broccoli. I love it roasted, or like the noble jades. I love anything like that roasted. Or there's this incredible recipe in the book Tender Heart that's for like confit broccoli, and you can do it with the sprouting broccoli, and I've kind of fallen in love with it. The oil turns like all green and beautiful, and the broccoli is just so good. So yeah.
Yum. You're gonna be hungry.
It's a great winter crop too. It goes so far into the fall, and it lasts longer than most anything else in our field. So I really like it for that too.
Yeah, no. And I have to, like, who doesn't love like a gorgeous, beautiful head of broccoli? But the crop, the sprouting broccoli, it just keeps coming and coming. And like, how can you really actually compete with that? Because
Totally. It makes
like from a farmer's perspective. Yes, I know. So I'm always like so torn, because I'm like, everyone should just be growing sprouting broccoli.
Yeah, agreed. And a bunch of it is just breathtaking and beautiful to hand to someone. Like it's, undeniably really satisfying.
Yeah. Okay, next question. What gets you up in the morning?
Our dog Goose, definitely. You met him, Clara, several times. He's a border collie, so he doesn't really take no for an answer for most things. And so he for sure gets me up in the morning and makes me move immediately.
Gotta have a good farm dog. Number 3, favorite tool.
I'm really partial to a bed rake. I love raking out beds, and I feel like I can get into a meditative spot pretty quickly with a bed rake, and I just feel pretty satisfied at the end of it when you look back and you've got a perfect 30-inch bed. And I've did a lot of bed raking in my day, and I never get sick of it, and I really love it.
Favorite way to relax or self-care activity, or how do you take care of your body, heart, and mind as a farmer?
I am a big swimmer. I grew up on a large river, and I swam in high school and college competitively, and I love being in water just in general. So swimming laps in a pool really makes my body feel great. I feel like it puts my body just literally in alignment. And swimming in the ocean, when Nick and I moved here, we committed to dunking in the ocean every single day. And
wow.
we kept that promise for 2 years. We dunked every day. I remember pulling up to the ocean on like winter storm days, and like trudging through the snow to get to the ocean. But we did it, and it's such a good reset. And I just love the water, and I think in many different forms, it makes me feel good.
Yeah, no, that is amazing. I love that you have done it. Now, are you still doing this, or was just this a 2-year period that you did it every day?
We kind of fell off for a little bit after 2 years. We were pretty committed. And then honestly, in the summertime is when it was more difficult, just because we were so busy and it was hard to get to the beach every day. So that's when we started to fall off. So we'll still go at least a few times a week, I would say, but we're not as committed as we used to be. But I keep saying to myself, I really want to get back into it, because it was such a kind of amazing ritual, and just like nice to know that was going to be, I had to like anchor my day somehow, getting to the ocean and jumping in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you live on an island, so you might as well take advantage of it.
Exactly.
So, next question. How do you turn off farming, or can you, do you?
I think I can turn off farming. I can't really turn off food. I think I'm always thinking about food in some capacity. So if it's not through the lens of farming, I think it turns into what am I cooking tonight, or where are we going to dinner? Or I feel like even when I'm in a city, like my day is mapped out as like, okay, where are we going to go to like get food and like collect it and go to all these bakeries. And I think I'm constantly thinking about food. I think I can turn off farming, but farming usually is the way that I think about food. So, but
I like it. I like that answer. What would you be doing if you weren't farming?
I think I'd probably be cooking in some capacity. I don't think I have the personality to work in a kitchen, and I think that's probably why I never went that direction. But I do love to cook a lot, and I love to bake, and I love to work with food. So I think something in that world, either that or like a wilderness guide, or like some sort of kind of like national park, like I don't know, something working outside. I could never be inside for too long.
Well, there's still time for your national park
career. For sure.
How do you define success on the farm or as a farmer?
Yeah, I think wherever I am, I just feel like as long as I'm prioritizing the soil and the health of that ecosystem, I feel really good about it. I definitely have production-based goals, but at the end of the day, I just really want to make sure that I'm stewarding the piece of land that I'm on to the highest degree. And the other thing that really, I think, affects me just day to day is that the team dynamic. I think if anyone's not having a good day or something's off, I really feel it deeply. And I think that's hard, and it's, I think, weighs on me as a manager, but it's something I can't really shake. So as long as the people are happy and the soil and the land are happy, I think I'm happy.
Where and how does wildness enter or influence your farming practice?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think though it's not, and I kind of disliked this. We talked about it at different farms that I've worked on in terms of like the foraging aspect of different parts of crops within a cultivated system. And I don't know that foraging is the right word because I don't think it pays respect to that act. But I think usage of different kind of parts of crops and looking at crops a little bit differently and not seeing them as like, this is what this crop was meant for. This is the production value of it, that sort of thing. I think the wildness kind of comes into play maybe in looking at like how else could this be used, or like what leaves that we potentially, like of the noble jade or the sprouting broccoli or something, could we use that wouldn't typically be used. Or I guess I feel really grateful that I'm on such a small farm because it allows for those moments just kind of creativity and of thinking of crops a little differently. And I feel like maybe it's that in terms of just like usage and thinking about how they were bred and what their main intention was, but also what maybe is being undervalued and what, if you were in the wilds, would you need to use from this crop in order to survive or make it worth it, or that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And hey, the radicchio offering to those deer, you're definitely
forced wildness.
Yes. You're giving back to the wild.
For sure.
What do you long for, and how does that influence how you farm?
So I think I long for a world in which people see themselves as part of the greater ecosystem and not as the controllers of it. I think I find that a lot when I don't know, I step off of the farm and I don't know, I just look at society as like, we're just trying to control so much and every aspect of everything. And I think it's human nature to a certain degree, but I think we often forget that we're just part of it. And how do we not make the world about us? How do we just contribute to it? And I think definitely influences the way I farm. And I think I don't know. I don't like to like force or preach or whatever my ideals or how I look at the world. But I guess it's just so confusing to me how the way we do look at it, that it's hard not to kind of bring that into conversation or to, definitely influence the way I look at agriculture. But I think that's what I long for, just a world that humans have a little bit less of an ego.
What do you feel is your gift to give on behalf of people and the land?
I think maybe just my appreciation for food and what is possible to grow and to grow yourself and to take from the land and the soil and what it needs for you to give back to it in order to get that. I think that's always been such a one of the defining kind of like factors in my brain that makes it feel good is this like reciprocity of like, yes, I'm getting this beautiful food. And it's so incredible this happens, but it doesn't come for free. Like there is a give and take, and you have to put the time and the investment into the land and the soil in order to get that out of it. And that's kind of my favorite part, is that it is just like a back and forth, and maybe just the kind of that acknowledgement, which a lot of farmers do in a lot of ways, and then some other farmers don't as much. But
I love the word reciprocity, so that's a good one. And finally, how will you grow old farming?
Oh, I mean, I think I'll grow old farming by just keep moving. I think, Clara, your dad, Elliot, inspires me a lot in that way. And I have a grandmother now, and I had a grandfather that lived a pretty old age, and my mother too, like none of them stopped moving. And I think I just never want to stop moving for too long. And I think it's definitely in my blood and my bones for that not to happen. So just want to keep moving. It's when I feel best. And I definitely like to use my body more than I like to use my brain. And farming is a good way, I think, to keep that moving. So
I mean, when you stop moving, you start dying, right?
Yeah, exactly. Literally.
So, well, good. Well, I wish you abundant health in your body so that you can move to your heart's content.
Thank you. Right back at you.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a delight to speak with you and to share more about Beetlebung and, what you've been able to, ferry and support there. It's really incredible to see the evolution and the progress over the years. So thank you for your time and your work and your heart. So
thank you. Thank you too for all of the work. I so appreciate everything you do. And I hope you come visit us this summer.
Today's show was produced by me, Clara Coleman, with support from No-Till Growers. Special thank you to Willie Breeding for the theme music. Thank you to the patrons at patreon.com/no-till-growers for helping to make this show possible. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next week.